finally made it after months and months of telling you all that I'm going to start my YouTube channel again. I'm here, I have ideas, and hopefully you guys are excited too. I annoy you all the time on Twitter, I annoy you on Instagram, and now I thought I'd annoy you all on YouTube as well. So if you have come over from Twitter, thank you very much for taking part in the polls that I put on there. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of what you guys wanted to see, so I put out some polls just asking firstly if you wanted me to come back, and secondly what you wanted to see. And the video that got the most votes was a Blu-ray haul, which I'm really excited to do for you. I think this is a really good way to start as well, because it kind of gives you an idea of what I watch, what I buy, and you can see my physical media collection, which is always exciting. What's also really cool for you guys is I have been collecting Blu-rays for about a year. So I have a fairly modest collection, but every Blu-ray you're going to see today is my entire collection. So on YouTube, I'm going to have an entire track record of my whole collection, which I'm really, really excited about. We've got horror, we've got superheroes, we've got a bit of everything. So I'm really, really excited to show you the Blu-rays that I have. I know some of you are bound to ask, so I buy all of my Blu-rays pretty much secondhand. I go to CEX to buy my Blu-rays, so most of these I've managed to pick up for a couple quid. I've got a couple of new ones, some that might be Christmas presents and some that I love so much that I pre-ordered, but that's really rare. I don't tend to buy them new. So yeah, everything here is super cheap, super affordable, and if you're from the UK, you know how awesome CEX is at having loads and loads of Blu-rays. So that is all I'm going to say. Let's go, let's go, let's go. The first Blu-ray on my pile is The Great Gatsby, the Baz Luhrmann movie. I freaking love this film. Not enough of you do, which annoys me on the daily. I love Baz Luhrmann as a director. I think he brings a really cool edge. I love how flamboyant his movies are. This might be my favourite of his. I really enjoy the performances here. I love how crazy everything is, the soundtrack, the visuals, the costumes, the outfits, everything like that. I think it's a really good representation of what the novel had to offer. I really enjoy the book too. I know that that is not the most popular either, but I really like this story, and I think Baz was the perfect director for this film, so I'm really happy to own this one. Keeping on the Leonardo DiCaprio hype train, I also have Inception in this really, really cool case. I don't know if that's coming through. But Inception isn't my favourite movie. I enjoy it and I appreciate what it does. It's not my favourite, but I saw it for like a couple quid and I had to pick it up, especially in this cool slipcover as well. I'm not going to bore you with the details on Inception. We all know how cool it is, the visuals and stuff like that, and obviously the performances. So I'm really glad I own this one, and in the coolest case ever. Next up is one of my guilty pleasures, and that is Kick-Ass. This was one of my favourite movies when I was growing up, and it's a massive reason that I'm actually as into film as I am. This film is so hilarious. Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Nick Cage are fucking brilliant in it. I absolutely love them. The humour is on point. It actually has some, you know, some emotion behind it as well, which I really enjoyed. And the first time I watched it, I wasn't really expecting it to have that. One of my favourites, 5 out of 5 for me. The sequel, not so much, and I don't actually own that. But yeah, Kick-Ass. If you haven't watched it already, which I'm sure you have, give it a spin. It's really, really fun. The first horror film I'm going to talk about today is Paranormal Activity. I am hoping to own all of these at some point. At the moment, I only have the first one. But I think it's between this one and the third one for my favourite. You all know what Paranormal Activity is. Super, super iconic. A really good utilisation of the found footage gimmick. Some people don't like it because of its slow nature. You don't see a great deal until like the second half. But I appreciate it for that. I really enjoy it, and it's quite like a comfort watch for me. Whenever I fancy like a cosy horror that I've seen before, I always stick this one on, so that's why I picked it up. Next is one of my only brand new ones that I own, and I got this for Christmas because of my really, really strong obsession with it last year. Obviously, we are talking about Top Gun Maverick. It was my second favourite movie of the year by the end, but I really wanted to own this just because of the rewatchability for a start. And there were so many like family members and friends that I wanted to show this one to, so I thought I would request it for Christmas, and I was lucky enough to receive it. It comes in a slipcover as well, which is always good. And I think this is my most watched Blu-ray out of my entire collection. Like I said, I showed a few people this that hadn't seen it yet and wanted to. And the quality is gorgeous as well. This movie is absolutely stunning. It didn't have any right to be as good as it is, but I'm so glad it's good. I think it's kind of given us a little bit more hope in the blockbuster again. And as much as I will miss watching it on the big screen, I'm really happy to have it in my collection so I can give it a spin whenever I want to. Next, we have another all-time favourite of mine, and that is The Breakfast Club. There are a million reasons why I love this movie, and I'm not going to bore you to death with them. If you haven't seen The Breakfast Club already, please, please, please give it a watch. I love the characters. I think it's aged a little bit in terms of its stereotypes and things like that, but I don't think that hinders enjoyment too much. Bear that in mind before you watch if you haven't seen it before. But if you have, you know why this is so great. It's really funny, it's really light-hearted. It's single location as well, which I think people forget when discussing the best single location films. Most of this is set in the detention room. And yeah, I love the characters. They are developed really well considering we only see like a few hours of their day. And yeah, I just absolutely love it, and I love this cover design as well. If you know me, you know how much I adore the Conjuring universe, and one I have in my collection is Annabelle Creation. I bought this fairly recently, which is why it's still got all the stickers. To be honest, a lot of these still have the stickers on them. But yeah, £3.50, absolute bargain. Not my favourite, obviously, from the Conjuring universe, but I think it's my favourite Annabelle film. I like to see kind of how the story started, and I think the performances from the young actors are really good too. I liked the slipcover this one comes in, and I also noticed that it has lots of unseen special features. I haven't watched them yet, but I'm really, really interested to. But if you enjoy a good horror film, this one feels fairly traditional with your jump scares and you know, the haunted doll and things like that. So if you do enjoy some movies from the Conjuring universe and are yet to check out this one because you didn't enjoy the first Annabelle, give it a shot. It's super, super fun. It's not going to blow you away, but it is a really competent horror film that I do recommend. And whilst we're speaking about Annabelle, obviously I have The Conjuring 2. This is my favourite James Wan film, and it's my favourite from the Conjuring universe. I absolutely love what this achieved. I was super young when it came out. I was in like secondary school. I think I was about 13 or 14, maybe a touch older. But everyone was talking about this, which was really rare because not many people at school would talk about horror films. And when this came out, everyone was so surprised because it's actually freaking scary. It's so rare for a horror film to actually scare you, and The Conjuring really does. I know you've all seen it, so I'm not going to waffle on about it too much, and I'm going to do some Conjuring content at some point anyway to discuss the franchise as a whole. But yeah, this is one of my favourite horror films of all time. I absolutely adore it, and it still scares me even though I've seen it about 100 times. Next, we have a bit of a more hidden gem, and that is Fighting with My Family. We all love Florence Pugh, but I think this is one of her probably most underwatched performances, and it's actually up there with Midsummer for me for my favourite performance of hers. It's based on a true story, and it's about a family of wrestlers in the UK, so obviously The Rock has to make an appearance too. It's really light-hearted, it's really, really funny, the humour hits so well, and it's always nice to have a true story on screen that you might not have necessarily heard. I loved learning about Paige and her family and the struggles that they had, and the wrestling scenes are really, really fun too. In the movie, Florence Pugh's character goes to the WWE sort of boot camp thing, and it's really, really fun to watch. Great performances, great humour, lots of wrestling, and a really nice, if a bit familiar, true story. Next, we have the ever iconic Get Out, one of the best modern horrors. My favourite Jordan Peele. You might disagree, but I think a lot of you will agree with me. Absolutely had to own this. I think this is one of my most rewatched movies of all time, which is pretty good on this movie's behalf because I feel like once you know what's going down, you view it a little bit differently. I have shown this to so many people, even my nan, who really enjoyed it. It's spooky, it's clever, it was Jordan Peele making his mark on the horror industry and becoming so iconic even after one film. Daniel Kaluuya gives an insane performance. This cemented him as well as Peele. And I love it every time I watch it. It's really, really fun, it makes you think, and it's super duper clever. If there's a slight chance that you haven't seen Get Out yet, please, please, please give it a go. And I love this cover as well, it's super cool. I'm not always a fan of box sets, and I kind of like to own the individual movies, but when I saw this in CEX, I could not say no. I think it was about £15, and this has, how many? Yeah, this has all 7 of the movies. Of course, I'm repping my king, Freddie. I love these. They are cheesy, They are not all amazing, but the reason I love this franchise as a whole is because they all flow together so nicely. They all have the same tone, the same vibe. Some of them obviously aren't great. Then there's a few of the later ones that I probably won't rewatch as much, but the first three I really enjoy. Number one is my favourite. Number three is really close though. So I'm really happy to own the Nightmare on Elm Street box set. And yeah, it's one of those franchises that's not the most renowned, but fans love it, and I am a fan. I love Freddy Krueger. I think he's probably the most scary villain. I mean, the whole killing you in your dreams thing, I think that's a really scary premise. And I love Wes Craven as a director as well, so I absolutely had to own this. It just feels cohesive of a franchise, so that's why I wanted to own the whole thing. But yeah, really cool find. I can't believe I found this for like 10-15 quid, so I had to pick it up. We've got another very iconic, very well-known one next, and that is Interstellar. I watched this for the first time, I want to say like 2 years ago. I know. The reason I didn't watch it earlier is because it was so overhyped, and when films are overhyped, I tend to not enjoy them, hence Inception. Absolutely loved this. I should have watched it earlier. I can't believe I didn't. I've still only seen it the once, but I saw it and it was about £2 or something, so I had to pick it up and own this one. I'm due a rewatch 100%, and maybe before Oppenheimer comes out I'll give all of his movies a rewatch. I think that is a video idea as well. If you want to see that, let me know. But yeah, I'm not going to talk to you about Interstellar. You've all seen it before. It's probably one of the most watched movies. Really amazing, intriguing premise, so emotional. I felt so emotional several times watching this movie. I love the performance from Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway as well. I think it's one of her best. And yeah, everything that everybody said about this film, totally right. It does live up to the hype, so I had to pick it up. Okay, I'm going to have to speed this up a bit because I have not scratched the surface, so I'm going to run through these last ones pretty quickly. I'm so sorry, I didn't realise how much I was waffling. So next we have Sicario, which I really enjoy. This isn't normally my type of film. Obviously, I love the director, so I gave it a spin, I think, before Dune was coming out. But anyway, yeah, I absolutely love this film. Another really good Daniel Kaluuya performance. I love Emily Blunt in this as well. I wasn't expecting to love this as much as I did, so I'm really polished that I liked it a lot and enough to own it. Musicals aren't my favourite genre, but I do like a good musical now and then. Am I going to go that far and say it's my favourite? I don't know. One of my favourites though is Les Mis. I love this story. I haven't read the book because it really intimidates me because it's freaking huge. I've seen the stage play in London though, and I've seen this film and played the soundtrack so many times. I absolutely love it. The casting is so on point for me. It's what makes this so good. And I know a few of them don't have the most amazing voices, Russell Crowe, but I think the performances are good enough for us to kind of let that slide. Really emotional, a really difficult watch, but it tells a really important story and the songs are amazing. Next we have a thriller, and that is Taken. Yeah, it's not like the best thriller of all time, but when I watched it, this is another one that I was surprised to like as much as I did. I hadn't watched much Liam Neeson when I watched this for the first time, and I think my granddad wanted to go and see one of the movies in the cinema. I can't remember which one. I can't tell you how many there are. I'm not a fan of the franchise. I've watched this one and whatever the newest one was, and that was pretty crap. But I really enjoy this one, and I think it has rewatchability. My favourite Liam Neeson performance that I've seen. I do need to watch more of his though. Yeah, simple premise, his daughter goes missing, but it's played out really well and I love the action and it has a lot of emotion behind it too. So I kind of rewatched this one. I do like it and I like Neeson. Next we have The Fighter, which I've still got the stickers on, and as you can see I bought this for £1, which is really good. I've only seen this once. I'm not in a huge rush to rewatch it, but I know I want to at some point, which is why I picked it up. I am a massive Christian Bale fan, so I had to watch this for his performance, and it's insane. I do think it's one of his best. I wouldn't say that the film disappointed me, but I think I overhyped it a little bit too much in my own head, which is why I didn't get out of it what I thought I would. But I also think this is one that I'll appreciate more on a rewatch. It's a really tough story. it kind of has a lot of emotion running through it. It was a bit of a difficult watch at times due to what Christian Bale's character goes through. But yeah, it's one of his best performances, so if you're a fan of Bale, definitely give this one a watch. Next, we have another all-time favourite, and that is Hot Fuzz. I am really, really hard to impress when it comes to comedy, but I laugh at this one every single time, and I've probably watched it about 50 times, and that's not even an over-exaggeration. I absolutely love this film. It cemented Edgar Wright as one to keep an eye on for me. This is probably the first one of his I saw. And it still holds up to this day. It's so quotable. It's one of the most quotable films probably ever. It's so British. It's so funny. The two guys, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they obviously work so well together. We all know this, but this is definitely their best. It's super duper funny. It's my favourite film by Edgar Wright. If you haven't watched this, which I'm sure you have, out of all these films I'm going to show you today, please prioritise this one. It is absolutely hilarious. You will love it. So I'll show you these two together. So I have Man of Steel and Batman and Superman, which is the Ultimate Edition. I don't care if you unsubscribe. I don't care if you think little of me. I absolutely adore these films. I adore Zack Snyder. I adore what he did with the DC. And I think it absolutely sucks that he's not going to be part of it anymore. I love the universe that he was building up, and I would give so much money to see what he could do with it going forward. Absolutely love the Snyder Cut. I don't own that, but I 100% will be at some point. I really like these. Probably Man of Steel more so than Batman vs Superman, but I think they're both competent. I really enjoy them both. I love how dark they are, and I love the performances from both Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. Probably the most iconic creature feature of all time. I obviously own Jaws. It's one of my favourite movies of all time, and easily my favourite Spielberg. There's nothing I can say about Jaws that hasn't already been said, but I just absolutely love it. I love the dialogue, I love the performances. So many slept on performances in that film. It's actually a huge reason why I come back to this so much, because of the performances. I love the characters, I love the setting, and I just think it's really iconic how they achieved this in the 70s. Please watch Jaws. Next, we have a Blu-ray that I've actually never watched before. I think this is the only one in my collection that I haven't watched, and I picked it up because I'm really desperate to see it. And that is The Orphanage, which I obviously can't tell you much about because I haven't seen it, but all I really know is that it's a Spanish horror film, and apparently it's more emotional than it is scary, so I have to prepare myself for that. But yeah, it was £2, so I thought, why not? Next, I have As Above, So Below, which is one of my favourite horrors of all time, and one that I think is massively, massively, massively overrated. It's set in the French catacombs, and some really, really terrifying shit goes down. So I really enjoy this for the performances and the setting. The catacombs is something really unique, so you've got the added claustrophobia of that too, which is why this film works so well. Not a fan favourite. I mean, it has a small cult following, but there's a lot of people that are disappointed by this, so I think it's great. I think it's worth a shot, and it's one of my favourite found footage films, so bear that in mind. Definitely check it out. I've been filming for absolutely ages, so I'm going to do the next pile pretty quick fire, to be honest, because I don't want my first video to be 3 hours long. Nobody's going to stand for that. Arrival, iconic sci-fi film. I absolutely love this. I think this one I've only seen once as well, but I'm definitely going to rewatch this a lot. I think I actually prefer this to Interstellar as well, which I know is fairly unpopular, but I think it's because of the linguistics vibe, about speech and stuff like that. I think I've used the wrong word there, but if you've seen it, you know what I mean. And I love Amy Adams. She's an absolute icon, so this one I need to rewatch immediately. Next, I have Black Swan, which is one of my favourite horror films. It's my favourite Natalie Portman performance, and it's one that stuck with me from a very young age, probably because I was way too young to watch it when I did and thought I was just signing up for a film about ballet. Not the case. Way too young to watch this. Probably traumatised. That's fine. Amazing. Watch it for Natalie Portman's performance alone, and stay for the creepy horror. It really does get under your skin, and it's very thrilling. We have If Beale Street Can Talk, which is directed by Barry Jenkins, who did Moonlight, which I think I have in my collection. We'll find out. Really like this one. I've only watched this one once as well, and that was when it came out in the cinema, so I'm definitely overdue a rewatch. Really important story being told here with amazing performances, and of course the direction from Barry Jenkins is insane. Next, we have the Dark Knight trilogy, which I enjoy every single installment of. Obviously The Dark Knight is my favourite, but I enjoy Begins and Rises nearly as much. I mean, Rises is the least rewatchable for me because it gets a little bit boring in places. But for an origin story, I think Batman Begins is one of the best we have. And of course, you don't need me to tell you how iconic The Dark Knight is because of this guy here. And just what it managed to achieve is kind of like a political thriller with the superhero vibe inside. I don't know. Yeah, I had to own all three of these, and I saw them all together as well, which I was really happy about because I managed to pick them up all together. So yeah, I definitely need to rewatch these ones at some point. It's been a while. Next, we have one of my favourite films of all time, and that is Little Women. I found this recently in a HMV bargain bucket for like £3, so I had to pick it up. I love this film so much. It honestly feels like a big warm hug. It warms my heart immediately. Of course, it has its sad moments too, but these four actresses on the front here, especially Saoirse Ronan, they absolutely kill it. I love Timothée Chalamet in here as well, and Laura Dern. The casting is on point. The direction from Greta Gerwig is amazing too. And yeah, after Lady Bird, I was unsure of what Greta could do, and then she came out with this and I was just floored again. Absolutely perfect. I think it captures the heart of the book really, really well, and I rewatch this probably 2 or 3 times a year. I absolutely adore Little Women. From one of my favourites of all time to my absolute favourite of all time, The Lost Boys. If you know me, this doesn't come as a surprise to you, but yeah, if you don't know me too well, The Lost Boys is my favourite film of all time. I think it is the pinnacle of horror comedy. It's so camp, it's freaking hilarious, the performances are amazing, the 80s vibe with all the costuming and stuff is so immersive and so cool. Best soundtrack, honestly, I play this soundtrack so much. Yeah, and the horror works too. I mean, it might be a little bit dated by now, but kind of the practical effects and the overall look of the vampires I still absolutely adore. Please watch this if you haven't already. It's my favourite vampire movie of all time and my favourite movie in general of all time. It still holds up to this day, and if you're watching it for anything, just watch it for a fun time. Don't expect anything more than that. It's just super camp and super fun. Cool, we're really on a roll with these favourites. Of course, Scream is up there. I only own this one so far, and I'm going to make it my priority this year to grab the rest of them. I enjoy every single one, even Scream 3. They're so rewatchable for me. The same as The Lost Boys, really. The comedy works a treat and the horror works really well as well. I absolutely love a slasher, and what elevates this even more is the kind of meta comedy element of it, which I think Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson do really, really well in this first instalment. It's got a lot to say about horror and about movies in general, so yeah, of course, you've all seen Scream by now. This one will always be my favourite. I don't care what the franchise manages to pull off. This is where it all started. This changed the game in terms of slashers, so I had to own this, and I love this cover as well. Next, we have Mama, which isn't everybody's favourite horror film, but it has a special place in my heart, really, because it was one of the first horror films I ever watched, and I really, really liked it. It scared me a lot, but it's also really sad, and the ending always has stuck with me, and I've rewatched this so much. It has Jessica Chastain in it. It's presented by Guillermo del Toro. It has this really like immersive, appealing look about it that I love. It's really dark, and yeah, it's very Guillermo actually thinking about it. But yeah, it's a really sad tale. It has some horror in there as well, and I think for the right person, it would be an enjoyable horror. It doesn't scare too much, and once you've kind of seen Mama in her like full glory, it kind of loses a lot of its fear factor, but definitely give it a watch if you like your horror films to have a bit more of an emotional pull. Okay, we're down to our last few. So next I have Mad Max Fury Road, which I've only seen once, and I only watched like last year or the year before because I thought I'd absolutely hate it because I'd never seen Mad Max and I'm not overly keen on action. This is so insane, and I can't believe you all let me live my life without seeing this. It was amazing. I can't believe I didn't see it on the big screen. I will forever hate myself for this. I'm not going to waffle about this film. It's one of the best action films of recent years, probably maybe ever. Oh, the setting, it's just so gorgeous. The yellow tones, the performances, Charlize Theron is insane. I might go and watch this after I finish filming. I love it so much. we have another Edgar Wright, Last Night in Soho. I know this one didn't do very well last year or the year before. I think it was the year before now, Christ. But yeah, a lot of people didn't enjoy the third act too much, which I get. It does all fall apart a little bit in the third act, and I feel like Edgar Wright really did struggle to bring his story to a close. But everything before that is amazing. The colours, the way things are shot, the performances from Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie. I love the London setting. London is like my favourite place in the world, so I was always bound to love this, and I really want to go to a couple of the locations. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed what it had to offer. I'm not obsessed with how things wrapped up, but the dance scenes and everything before that made it totally forgivable in my eyes. So I did actually pre-order this one and pick it up, yeah, as soon as it came out. So that was one of the first times I've ever done that. 2 more films to go, and these ones I wish I could spend more time talking about because they're not as watched as probably all of these. So we have Starred Up, which is a really, really fun prison drama with Jack O'Connell as the lead, who is one of my favourite actors of all time. British viewers probably have got more of an idea of who he is and what he does, but I think his name's getting out there a bit more, which is fun to see. So yeah, this is a prison drama, and it centres a lot on family, as our lead character ends up in prison with his father, and there's a whole dynamic going on there. Violent, gritty, British, awesome prison drama. Maybe my favourite prison drama, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but definitely check it out. And the last Blu-ray, thank you if you're still here, I can't believe how long I've been filming for, is Chronicle, a found footage film, maybe horror, I'm not really sure, you can argue that. But it's about a bunch of teenage guys that end up with powers. And I think what this one does really well is shows, like, realistically what would happen if a group of kids got superpowers. It's got Dane DeHaan in it, and he gives such a good performance in this. It's not the best film that I've shown you today, but I really do think it's worth the watch, and especially for its found footage element, I think it does really well in that. Thank you so much for watching. My throat hurts, so I'm gonna go grab a drink and yeah, maybe stick a film on. Thank you for welcoming me back with open arms. Thank you for subscribing even before I'd started making content. I really, really appreciate that. And I hope you enjoyed looking at my collection. I'm sorry I rushed through everything so quickly, but of course a lot more videos coming up are going to be more focused, so I'll get to talk about things in more detail and give you my proper plot summary and review. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. I've had so much fun, and I needed the refresher really of my collection because I do get a bit overwhelmed with it all sometimes, and I end up in the shop and I can't remember which ones I already own. So I'm not going to set a schedule for recording and uploading, I'm just going to kind of do it as and when I have time. But yeah, thank you for joining me. Comment down below if you enjoyed the video. Just say hi, I'd love to see who's watching, and let me know which is your favourite out of the films I've showed you today. Take care, guys.